Most people in business aren't entrepreneurs, and they want clear and concise roles and responsibility that this is my lane, this is what I do. And by us treating everyone like they're an entrepreneur, they're not. You know, if they were, they would have already been one. I used to be okay with doing all the data deals myself, not paying anybody, just sitting there and just doing data all day because I was just making money. However, that's not sexy to me. Is that a real business? A real business for me, can it operate without Dave and me there? I think part of being a CEO and entrepreneur, man, it's not meant for the heart kind of thing, or people that just don't have the stomach for it. It's a different grind, man. And I think entrepreneurs, at least true entrepreneurs, people that are made for it, we're always on the grind, man. You got to be able to model the business that says, what's worst case scenario? As long as you can survive and you're not hemorrhaging money, a lot of times being in business long enough to weather the storm is fine. Elon Musk was asked, what's the best advice you can give to a CEO? Words of encouragement. And his response to them was, if you need words of encouragement, you shouldn't be a CEO.
LFG fam, we just shot a fucking banger right now. I can't wait till you hear this shit. It's like next level. No one's talking about this. Shout out to our sponsors, because without them, this shit wouldn't be possible. Shout out to Ringba. Shout out to Adam Young, the paper call revolution. There's big money in paper call, whether you're someone who's a novice looking to get into it, whether you're someone who's already doing it, putting up big numbers. Let's fucking do this, guys. Get the fucking book on Amazon. We're going to drop a link here. Take your shit to the next level. Let's fucking go. Welcome to another episode of the LFG Let's Fucking Go show. I'm excited today to have somebody that's very close to me as far as a business, as far as family, and someone that's just really an all-star in all respects of life. Great family man, great businessman, and just a great partner at the end of the day. And I'm excited to have him on the show. His name is Ed Payne. We merged our companies 2 years ago. We've known each other for, 7 years right now. And we've been growing like crazy, and we've had a lot of freaking ups and downs, but we're still here. A lot of battle scars, right? But we're still here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, learn more through the failures than the successes sometimes.
100%. That's what it is. So we're going to talk about our journey together. And more importantly, what I want to talk about is in our business, pivoting is very, very important. And there's a lot of changes going on right now, especially in the world of data. And Ed has made a huge career, a good career, in terms of monetizing data, particularly age data. And unfortunately, though, for him and for there's been a change going on with the FCC where they just pretty much made reselling data illegal as of January of next year. So that sucks in the long term, but in the short term, it creates an opportunity for a lot of people listening who are sitting on data that they're on monetizing. So we're going to talk about that. And I think that that's something to be excited about. So Ed, it's a freaking pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm going to edit that for television.
That's all good. People that know me know the deal. But anyway, that being said, Ed, let's get into it, man. Let's talk about how'd you get into lead generation, affiliate marketing, data. Let's talk about all of it.
By accident. I think most of us get in here not on purpose, right? We don't grow up thinking I want to get into the most disruptive space and calamity and pivots and chasing new dreams yearly and having a good year or two run and then going to the next thing. What kind of happened for me is that I got into data for a startup that was pretty big. And what happened is that people didn't know how to monetize the data. We had a new mover segment where we were getting about 160,000 new movers to opt in to be solicited.
Was that daily or what period of time?
It was monthly.
Okay.
Monthly. And from that, we would generate roughly around 300 to 400 organic internal leads monthly. Yeah. But initially started off with these big, high intent new movers where they're establishing buying patterns. Because when you think about it, when you buy a new house, your buying patterns are established in the first 90 days, like where your wife gets her hair cut, where you shop, the restaurants you eat at. We're creatures of habit. So that audience, not only from being a prime audience, meaning good credit, expendable income, this is an opportune time to dictate and influence how they were going to spend their money in the foreseeable future until they move again. And so what's happening is we got kind of the Trojan horse to get into these homeowners to opt in. But when I was going to the Best Buys, to the Home Depots, to any of these big conglomerates, no one knew how to monetize the data. They all found the data valuable. They found the asset to it, but they didn't know how to necessarily turn it into a consumer besides traditional or omni-channel methods like direct mail, email, maybe some other traditional marketing. And so what it pivoted me into do it, it's like, how do I monetize it for them? How do I bridge the gap? How do we connect this consumer to this potential end buyer? And that's what got me into the call center business. Some businesses knew how to monetize the data, but I would say at least 95% of the big box Fortune 500 type of companies had no clue. So what we had to do was kind of pivot into lead gen to kind of offer a solution that would work, basically make analog and digital talk. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what got me into lead gen initially. Then what happened is that when that company ended up, our angel investor ended up yanking, I had everyone I sold data and leads to were now my publishers, were now my sourcing. I knew they had a need. I knew they had an appetite. I knew they were buying from people outside of me. So when I went off on my own, finally, everyone I sold to ended up being my supplier at some point.
Yeah, and that probably happened because you proved yourself to them, right? You were reliable, trustworthy, and all of that. So what didn't happen? Like you had that established connection with them.
Well, I think what made us partner, for those of you who don't know Dave's and my story, is we had some businesses on the side, and I got to see how Dave got down when times are hard, right? It's easy to put on your Sunday best and say, hey, this is who I pretend to be. But calamity and real life situations really show true character. How do you show up in that time? And I've always had that value. I've always believed in win-wins, strategic partnerships, alignments, just having full transparency and integrity in all my adventures. And then Dave was one of the first people I've met in the space that kind of followed suit with the same kind of belief system, and hence why we gelled. But when times were hard, we had some deals that went south. We had big paydays that needed to happen where we were more or less just screwed. And we've always done the right thing. So when we did that on our side business, what eventually happened for me, at least, is, and for both of us, is that this is someone I can do business with, right? This is someone that I know has my back, that has his partner's back. And this is, if I'm going to go out and represent myself in the industry, this is who I want. This is who I want to go to battle with.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned. I forgot how much history we have together. You made me remember back to like 2017, because we had very similar stories. We both started our companies. Connecting the Dots started as a side hustle for you. Mm-hmm. Solar direct marketing started as a side hustle for me. And it seems like you were always like a year ahead of me, though. You were like a year ahead of me, I think, because you'd been doing this a lot longer than I have, right? And it was also, you're a big inspiration for me because I saw where you were going. I remember when you called me up, I'm like, listen, I'm going to leave my job. You're making good money. You're making multiple six figures there. And I was like, man, you got 4 kids. You just moved or about to move. I'm like, I felt worried for you, man, because I was kind of like in the same spot. Like, I'm going to leave this high paying position. This is the right time. But I saw you do it and you fucking did it, right? Like, you made it happen fast. So I think that's something exciting. That was exciting for me, and it's inspirational. And man, I saw how you did. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go too. You gave me that encouragement to do that. I don't know if I ever told you that, but you really did. So can we talk about that? Like, let's talk about that. What went through your mind? What caused you to make that decision? Like, fuck it, I'm going to leave this cushy job, making multiple 6 figures, to go do this on my own. Because I think that would be very good for the audience to hear.
Well, I wish I was kind of that entrepreneur that took risks, and it really wasn't my forte. What happened is that my back was against the wall, and just like you as a partner, I have good partners in life. My wife is my ride and die, right? She had no financial fear. We had 2 kids, 2 on the way when I first started connecting the dots, and she was like, "Baby, you always talk about doing it. Why don't you just do it?" So I think first and foremost, you need a good backbone. You need a good anchor. And my wife is that. She provides that stability, takes care of the household. Your wife's the same way. She gives us the opportunity and the freedom for us to go out and do what we enjoy so we can provide and work those crazy hours, right, to make things happen for us and our family. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, what kind of happened is that I kind of did it out of necessity. Right. I always ask, you've been on interviews with me when I hire C-level people. I always say, what's your end goal? What's your dream? Right? Where do you want to end up? And the reason is because, money aside, what would you do if your back was against the wall today? Right? And everyone they have something that they know they can make money in. And if you open that potential, not only will they be your partner forever, it allows them to pursue their dreams. Because I feel like I had good teachers, but no one really pushed me or allowed me or gave me the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. No one really said, hey, this is what it takes. So I love that's how we do with a lot of people, is we start a lot of businesses for people that give them the backbone and the resources to do what they love and enjoy doing. But for me, what happened, it was out of necessity. My back was against the wall. I actually brokered a deal for this guy that ended up never paying me. And I ended up the first deals, connecting the dots was supposed to be a consulting business initially, but I'd brokered some data deals for them. And then my first month, I think I made 14,000. Second month, I think I made 20,000. Third month, I think I made 40,000 in profit. And I thought it was a scam though. So I took a job. I didn't, because everyone kept saying you're lucky, or people said that that's not how business is. And so I thought it was supposed to be harder. Right. And then a year later, my side hustle of 5 hours a week is outperforming my executive salary 10-1 every month. So for me, I'm not the entrepreneur that took this leap and said, I've always been an entrepreneur and I've been mowing lawns since I was 14 and blah, blah, blah. Right. I was at the situation. I was making so much money by accident that I was stupid not to pursue my own dream. So I wish I can say that I took those risks. Now I do. But back then it was pure God, circumstance, alignment, whatever you want to call it, coincidence.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to deal with the product. You had a product, which we're going to talk a lot about today, age data, right? You had a product that made a lot of sense, and then you priced it right as well. Like you knew your KPIs, and I think that's another part of what we do in lead gen when we're selling leads. It's almost like it's like a chef, right? They know how to do the right recipe, but there's always there's a pinch of salt they put in, and that pinch is the secret of the recipe, like that little dash or whatever they put in there. So you know that very well. And I've seen you do this. I've seen you look at leads and you look at the KPI reports and you know where to put it, you know where to price it so everybody wins. So I think that's really all that past experience it makes it seem like you got lucky, but you didn't. It's they used all that past experience and you connected some dots, no pun intended, and boom, that's how you started to make that money. And I'm glad that you said that, whatever you're making 40,000, 50,000 a month. And I was gonna ask you how much time you put doing that. You think like 5 hours a week?
At most.
Yeah, at most.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Think about that. That's like $8,000 an hour.
Yeah, I was making. I think then I was making a part time. I was making maybe 100 to 150,000 a month.
Wow,
take home.
Yeah,
by accident.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I thought it was a lot of money back then. Yeah. You know what I mean? It used to be. I arrived. I thought that this was it, and then little did I know that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, until you started buying horses.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another story. Another 12-step program around horses.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. But but Liz, I think it's amazing. And one thing I learned from you is, I think you just really reinforced that in me in creating those alignments. And I think that's why you were able to grow so much. I mean, I remember when we first started working together, like literally 50% of your profits you gave away to your partners to help you get deals. And I thought you were being a little bit too generous at one point, but I benefited from that, right? Is what happened. So I want to talk about that. How did you arrive to that? Where's this whole alignment? Where do you think that stems from? Creating partnerships like that?
Well, for me, it's everything I say is stolen, manipulated, and called my own. I've had great teachers and great mentors, and I love the definition of destiny is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And I feel like my teachers throughout life has prepared me. The first thing I heard that really resonated with me is the way to make a billionaire is to make 10 millionaires. And for me, I think the industry acts, or people in general just act in scarcity, right? And I think scarcity creates fear because people are like, they can't get on that. So for me, it's just like, how do I eliminate scarcity and greed, right? Because you're a smart entrepreneur. You can go around me. You can figure it out. But if it's an alignment where we're eating the same, where regardless of it, there's not greed in there, right? I'm saying whatever I make, you make as well. Now that's a partnership, right? And sometimes people will take advantage of it, but for me, it's a cheap lesson. But for me, all I have in my life now are partners. You and I, if everything went to hell in a handbasket, we can reinvent ourselves tomorrow because people would partner with us in the next endeavor.
Yep.
And for me, that's first. The second thing I heard that's stolen is I said the scarcity. I said the 10 millionaires to make a billionaire, but I also feel like I'm limited, right? That I only have so much bandwidth. If I'm out there, if I'm the best roof salesman in the US, I can only pound so many doors. I can only sell so many roofs. I'm going to limit myself and I'm going to cap out. I can make 300,000-400,000 as an entrepreneur, but if I don't have a team, if I don't have the next ed, if I don't have the next person in development, if I don't have a team behind me, I'm only as good as the team we built, right? So for me, these are future partners, right? And it's like just how we got started. We got started on another hustle And that hustle turned into now everything we do, we pretty much do together now.
Yep.
Right. And we don't need each other to come along for the ride. Half our partners don't need us to go along for the ride. They're successful in their own rights. But collectively, we do a hell of a lot better than we can ever do individually. And I love the fact that we're around people that are generous like that, you know, and the ones that aren't just don't ride with us. They're just not cut from the same cloth. They're not the same pedigree.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I love the part when we first started working together, you would tell me, listen, this is where I'm getting the leads from. This is my cost, right? And this is what I could sell it for you at, or we'd figure out a way to make it work. And by knowing that, knowing what I have to work with, I can go back to my buyers and be like, okay, and then I can do the same thing you were doing. I know where to price it, where I can make a profit, where I can keep, you know, everybody wins, and then they could hit their KPIs. So, and that was probably, you were probably the first person or one of the first people that actually did that. Everybody else they had that scarcity mindset. They didn't want to tell me the price. If I asked certain question, why are you asking that question? Like, you would sense that defensiveness, right? And all those people, I don't deal with those people anymore. They're gone. They're out of the business, right? No one wants to deal with those people. But I feel like the cream in our industry, or maybe any industry, rises to the top. The people who are giving, that don't have that scarcity mindset, they're the ones that make it to the top, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's also the fact that when you think about it too, like people, and an old CEO called me out on this. He said, I used to bring up the word ROI because I was taught to say that in sales. ROI is the most stupid thing you ever said, right? Because return on investment, if I spend $10,000 and I got a $15,000 sale, I made $5,000. That's not business. You spend $10,000, you got to make $30,000 at minimum because there's EBITDA, there's true net margin, right? There's a lot of cost that goes into stuff. So for me, it's what's the EBITDA? What's the true net number? And by understanding the numbers, man, that's how real business and real deals are done. Right. So everyone knows in ACA, for instance, the cost per a raw call on social media is going to fluctuate between $8 and $12 historically, sometimes lower, sometimes higher. So we know the raw cost. Let's just bake it in on a high end. This way we can prepare for worst case. Right. By knowing that, we know that if we price it at $45, we need 1 out of every 3 calls to be billable. Yep. That's simple math. When people act like they got something hidden or a gem, or they're like hiding some sort of secret information, they're not. Right? Anyone who's in the game understands that KPI. Anyone, or just anyone that should know. Right? Same with data, same with anything else. There's no secrets, right? You don't have anything secret to give. So what happens is by giving that alignment, by saying, hey, this is my raw cost, you know, as a partner, as a salesperson, as a true biz dev person on strategics to kind of go out there and how to represent it, you know what the end number needs to be.
Yep.
And then that allows you to put in alignment with who you're talking to say, does this fit or not? People are spending so much time fighting over the scraps that sometimes I had a deal yesterday, for instance, and the guy was a good guy. It just wasn't a good deal. I said, this is what I need. He says, can you do this? I'm like, no, you're not the right partner. And I just told him that. I said, I like you, but you're not the right fit for this. Most people are sitting there trying to do this dance and trying to make something fit. And sometimes it's just not supposed to fit. But by being transparent, I'm not trying to wiggle. I'm not trying to bargain. I'm telling them face value, this is what I can do. And he wants to negotiate. I'm like, I'm not the guy. Go find someone else. But for me, it collapses timeframes. You love that phrase. Yeah. It gets away the riffraff. And now I can go straight for the jugular. Does this have hope or potential or not? And if so, then let's play. Scale quick, fail quick. Yeah. I don't have time to sit there and negotiate.
Yeah, especially once you get, I don't know how many, I forget how many people we have on our team. We have a lot of people on our team, and our time is valuable, right? And I feel like we met each other in 2017. I feel like we've evolved. I know particularly, I used to be I'm still happy-go-lucky, but I've been kind of jaded a little bit, right? Through all this shit. You've seen that, right? You'd be like, I have less patience now than I used to have because I know my value. I know my time is worth X amount of money. Why am I wasting time on some bullshit, right? Yeah. So you get that, and I appreciate that. Another thing that you get that I think is huge for the audience to understand is that you told me the value of pro formas. Like when you're in this business, there's a lot of shiny object syndrome. You want to try every fucking idea. We're going to be at LeadsCon next week, and we're going to come out of there probably with a million things. But you showed me this process where you would do pro formas and do projections based on what we should be making based on historicals. And we would launch a campaign strategically. We wouldn't just, like back in the day, I would start a new campaign. I wouldn't even know how much I spent. I might spend 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. There's some campaigns I spent way over. I took on too much risk, where you would be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to spend X amount here, and then we're going to do it for 2-3 weeks. And this should be the cost. Let's see where we're at 2 or 3 weeks. Let's see if it hits. Right. So I wanted to talk about that because I don't think people talk about that enough. And people that we've done deals with, they're like shocked. They look at you like you're some fucking genius that invented Apple when they see this stuff. So, yeah. So where did you learn that? Let's talk about the importance of that.
Well, I think for me, this is kind of the benefit of coming from corporate America. I mean, I think a lot of people from corporate can't survive in startup and vice versa. We say this all the time. When we get to a certain size, I need to remove myself from the equation. I'm no longer an effective leader. I think, first of all, you got to have some humility. What's your limitations? Are you the stalemate? Are you the person that's going to block this company for growth? When do I step aside? For me, once again, because of having corporate structure, I got to be witness to a lot of brilliant minds, from amazing CFOs to CEOs to people that have exited for nine-figure plus, right? And so when I see it, it's once again, it's still manipulated and called my own. I had good teachers. So now all of a sudden, now that I'm in a startup mode, these are all lessons that I've taken from there and brought up. I love the term Excellionaire. A lot of people come in and they think that, hey, I'm gonna put this basic performer, do some math. If I do 10,000 leads, I'll make this much money and everything's gravy. Well, no, you got to put in risk factor. You got to have scale up time. You got to have people not paying their bills. You got to have taxes. You got to have different R&D initiatives. You got to diversify. If you put all your money in Facebook changes something overnight, you're out of business. So how are you going to are you with Google and YouTube as well? Right? Or are you a one-trick pony? There's a lot of things that go into a performa that mitigates risk. So you can calculate it, saying if these things remain true, then this is worth going to business. And you got to be able to model the business that says, what's worst case scenario? As long as you can survive and you're not hemorrhaging money, a lot of times being in business long enough to weather the storm is fine. It's like any business, even mortgage. Right now, mortgage is horrific, right? But if you can make mortgage work and weather the storm, because business is cyclical, right? It's seasonal. Interest rates will come down. Not people aren't killing it right now in mortgage, but the ones that are in mortgage, when rates come back down, they're going to murder it, right? So sometimes it's about opportunistic, but how do you run a business and what's the worst case? And can you run the business based on those numbers? People that don't know the numbers, man, they're just throwing darts at a board and hoping. And sometimes people make it. But for me, I'm just too old and I want to mitigate risk, right? I want to, and not just for me, but for my partners. I think if I don't mitigate the risk for people's money that are making me a steward of their money, I think I'm a bad partner, right? So for me, I do it not just for my family, but I treat their money like it's my own.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And that's something people got to think about, especially entrepreneurs, that Excellionaire, huge thing. And you said that so many times, and it's true. Yeah. We saw a lot in solar. And last year, I think over 100 solar companies went out of business. A lot of our freaking clients, we just had in December and January, 2 clients back to back, doing $700 million a year in revenue, gone. Like you would think, how the fuck is that possible, right?
Excellionaires.
That
they have all this money in the bank, but they're not thinking about the cash flow. All the bills come up, and that they don't have enough money to pay the piper.
Yeah,
right.
And you see that a lot with, and you see it with affiliates where they're banking on one campaign. That campaign might be doing 100,000 a day. But then look what happened with Health IQ, right? Health IQ stiffed people millions, tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You got to have diversification. You got to have, some people, I think they want to be, they don't want to take on a partner because they feel like you're going to lose a little bit of control doing that. Or not, you don't even have to get an equity partner. I think just get a fucking mentor, someone that's been through that has more experience than you. So I think that's the thing. And we complement each other. We're very good salespeople. We sell from different angles, but you have more business experience than I do. And you've been, you did retail, Krispy Kreme. You've been in supermarkets, right? You've been in leads. You've been in call centers. So we've done a lot of stuff together and the stuff that we haven't done together. And that's how we complement each other. But that's what helped take my shit to another level, is that when I do deals, now we're doing together. Like I'm looking at the risk factors, whereas before, I'd make a lot of money. Gross profit, but where the fuck's the net profit at? And you help me see that.
Yeah.
Especially when we merge, we have to go into our books and look at the numbers and this and that, right? And that was really eye-opening for me. So for anybody that's not at that level, I'd say, get a mentor, pay for somebody with experience, or consider partnering up with somebody, right?
Yeah, it's good to partner with people that have assets you don't, right? Like you, I love you because I wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? You're like everybody. You're like friends with everybody, right? You talk to people I wouldn't even invite to my dinner table, but it's like, but we need that, right? We need people that go out there and hunt, that look for new opportunities, and then when I meet the people, I actually like them, right? But it's it's people that I would probably prejudge, or I'm just too busy, or I don't want to open my surroundings, and you're just you have that charisma where you feed on the energy of other people, right? And I need that, right? You bring deals to the table that I would never even have thought of. And then I dissect it. Right. And it's, but you need that. You always need a good ops person. You always need the money guy. You always have someone that has to have, know the numbers, and so I think you got to find partners that complement.
Yeah. And another thing, like, I thought I was a businessman, or I thought I was a great CEO or a decent CEO until we merged, and that, like, it was humbling. I mean, maybe you felt this way too in some respects, because I didn't realize, like, bro, I'm not a fucking CEO. I mean, we're an EOS, entrepreneurial operating system. We got our company involved. I talked about the Ray in Medellin, Ray Sinley, big publisher, who's also part of that. And it really, now we have an org chart. We have a CFO. We just hired a new CEO. It's just cool to have people in have the right people on the right seat of the bus, and for us to be in the right lanes. And one reason why I and you are able to travel so much is because we have our team. We just came back from Dubai. We're at the booth. We're at these parties. We're doing this. We're doing that. But our team's taking care of all that for us. And we're not able to do that, without the team. So can we talk about, let's talk about EOS, how that's impacted us. What's been the biggest, was it humbling for you?
Yeah. Well, because I think, especially entrepreneurs and people that have learned a lot from a lot of different things, right? No one really teaches us once we get to a certain level, right? When you make your first 10,000, then you make your first 100,000, your first million, right? It's like, what do I do now? And it's hard to find mentorship in this space, right? And a lot of it is trial by error. And it's kind of cool that to kind of have a sphere of peers, where you can do this thing shoulder to shoulder, iron sharpens iron, right? But for me, it's like, you and I both are guilty of just kind of taking this book and this philosophy, kind of making it a buffet and taking what we wanted from each buffet table, right? But you kind of have to pick a lane at some point, right? Yeah, it's not that those other systems don't work, but pick a system that does, right? It's almost like if you're going to go CrossFit, or you're going to go, are you going to do supersets, or you're going to you pick a lane, right? Pick one, try it for a while, see the results, and go. So we were at a point that we just had to pick a lane. And I think the other side, like with most entrepreneurs, we can't get out of our own way. We want to micromanage everything. And I think there's two different businesses. And I think it just depends on your philosophy again, right? I used to be okay with doing all the data deals myself, right? Not paying anybody, just sitting there and just doing data all day because I was just making money. However, that's not sexy to me. Is that a real business? A real business for me, can it operate without Dave and me there, right? Or Dave and I there? And that's a real business, right? That's why I like roofing businesses, construction businesses. The reason you get 1 to 1.5 EBITDA is because once the asset, the owner is gone, there's no asset to the company. They are the asset. And that's not a real business. So for us, we had to get out of our own way to create a business model that can function without us. The second piece of it is singular responsibility, right? Because what's happening out of this is that and I love the analogy of Aunt Susie, right? Aunt Susie is our accountant when we have 2 data companies that buying data from us and 1 publisher. It's easy for Aunt Susie to run QuickBooks and be our accountant, right? But once you have 50, 60, 70 tickets a day, Aunt Susie's she's not even admin at that point, right? So with growth, people that came with us at the beginning of the ride aren't necessarily meant for this season. They may still have a seat on the bus, but the role that they initially played, we need someone else to fill that role. And the second thing is, entrepreneurs, when you first start, you're the bookkeeper, you're the hirer, you're the sales guy, you're the ops guy, you're doing everything, right? Between you and a partner or two. But then all of a sudden, if we're both doing it, who's handling it, yep. Right? And no one falls on the sword. So most people in business aren't entrepreneurs, and they want clear and concise roles and responsibility that this is my lane, this is what I do. And by us treating everyone like they're an entrepreneur, they're not. If they were, they would have already been one, right? So part of a business owner is putting people in positions and a seat on the bus that they're going to succeed the most in, that they're going to thrive in, that they're going to grow in, that they're going to nurture, that they're going to take ownership and get clear, concise direction where they know what their role is, right? And not having because what happens if 2 people are supposed to do accounting and accounting gets messed up and you're pointing the finger at each other, well, whose fault is it, right? Somebody has to fall on the sword for that. So we got to the point, which is scary and sucks sometimes because you got to spend a lot more money to grow. But a real business, as an entrepreneur, we can't do it all, right? And I think you and I just finally got to that point in our careers of how do we scale? How do we become a true asset in a business? And how do we exit, right? How do we keep the same culture and the people and give them a job if we ever want to move on to do our own thing and sell, which is usually the end game for most of us? Is it a real business, a viable business that we can sell?
Yeah, you're making me think back to all great points, and you just made me think back. We traveled so many places together. We've probably been over 100 different places together, and I think where we really connected was, I don't know, I think it was 2019 and Tony Robbins' Business Mastery in Las Vegas. That was great, and man, that changed a lot of my mind in terms of business, and made me really like, fuck. Yeah, I think Solar Direct was doing a little like 1.5 million in revenue, then 2 million, somewhere around then. And Tony's like, how do you 10X? I'm like, bro, you know what? I can't fucking do it. I had like a limiting belief that I couldn't do it, that I was too small or whatever. Yeah. And guess what happened? I put this on my Instagram and Facebook. I put time to 10X. Fucking 4 years later, we 10X, man, And it was such a great thing. And I think that's the beauty of our part. We weren't business partners then. We started to gel. I think after that event, we started to gel. We saw that we had a lot of same philosophies. But what Tony Robbins talked about was exiting, right? Exiting the company. I'm like, we could fucking exit this. Why not? Mm-hmm. Right? So I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this, and we can always edit anything up, but we had a shot to exit. Right? We were right there. We signed LOIs.
Multiple.
Yeah. I have a picture of us where we took a picture. We were at fucking Affiliate Summit or LeadsCon, one of them in Vegas. We had tears in our eyes, like, wow, we fucking made it. Like they gave us the offer, we signed the LOI, and that was like a crazy humbling experience, right? So, I mean, you want to talk about that? I mean, it kind of stings a little bit, right? But
PTSD. What do you want to talk about on it?
I don't know, the whole experience and maybe what we learned from it.
I think a lot of it is timing. That's what I learned from it, because it's always people always want to sell when they're going to be worth the most, but it's always better to sell one when you're climbing. Two is Tony Robbins brings up this thing about talking about cyclical or seasonal. It's like business is, and the economy is in 4 seasons, right? You got spring where everything is growing, right? When business owners weren't making money 5 years ago, they shouldn't be in business.
Exactly.
2% interest, 0% interest, anyone should be in business, right? If you're not making money, you're a bad business owner. Yeah. I like recessions because they shake out the dust, me personally. Like you said, the cream rises to the top. The second season is summer. In summer, everything's in full bloom, right? Then you got like a stalemate almost, like it's fall and things aren't really growing as fast. It may be kind of a stagnant economy. And then winter comes, and winter is a recession. Now, recessions last different times, right? 2009 was like, 2-3 years? Sometimes it's like during COVID, it was probably like 3 months, or 9 months. It's, I think what happens is, but when winter's here, spring's always coming around the corner. So most business owners, or at least people that haven't been through a winter, is they panic, or they think it's time to get out or whatever. But the idea of it is just be patient. Spring is coming. Plant your seeds. Reassess. Make sure you're running nimble, lean, mean, and be ready to come back like mortgage, so to speak, when the economy rebounds, right? And most entrepreneurs are prepared for that seasonality. I think by selling for us, we waited till fall, and if we would have sold 3 months earlier, we would have got the full potential exit.
Agreed.
But by waiting for fall, that's when money started tightening up, banks started tightening up. People aren't giving the same crazy exits anymore. And even though they still made the offer for a nice exit, wasn't nearly what we had 3 months earlier.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, it's timing. So I think for me as an entrepreneur, one, what season is it? And sometimes season may not even be an economic season. It may be the season of the industry. Like data right now is winter, or it's fall, right? It's or fall and winter are coming quick. Like we're having really big upticks this last few months because everyone knows it's coming and everyone's capitalizing.
Yeah, urgency, yep.
Right? So spring and summer are going to be probably until November, December, but then fall and winter are going to come pretty quick, right? So it's not just seasonality with the economic terms, but it could just be outside factors that are also changing the season of a certain industry. Lead gen is about ready to go through that season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are great points you make. And it's my first time. I never thought, we have very similar upbringings, right? We grew up in some rough neighborhoods. I know we've talked about this stuff before, and I had scarcity mindsets, and I always wanted to make money, but once things started happening, I'm like, wow, this shit's happening fast. I had to shift my mindset. And when Tony Robbins said that about exiting companies, I'm like, well, I guess it is possible. And then we started talking, and we were right in the middle of it, right? So I think that is very applicable. And I see a lot of people who they get opportunities to exit and they're like, oh, I think I could get more and whatever. But it comes down to timing. Because really, if we did do that 3 months ago, I'm convinced 3 months earlier, I'm convinced we would have exited. Right. But it's all good. I mean, it's part of the process. I went to a mastermind, someone named Eric Spofford. He had drug rehab facilities. Twice he had a chance to sell it for $45 million twice, and crazy stories happened. Like a CEO guy called and a vendor, like stupid stuff happened. Started losing contracts. Revenue went from whatever it was, cut in half. He had to hustle again. So I asked him the question, how did you deal with that? Because it fucked me up for a couple months. You know, I was like, damn. I feel like the rug got pulled from underneath us. So he was like, bro, you know what I did? I was a heroin addict for a long time. I saw one of my best friends get killed. He was on drugs. I just had to fucking sell. I had to get back and hustle again. And then 2 years later, he sold his company for $115 million. Yeah. Right. So that was exciting to hear. And I feel like, you know, whether it's us or somebody else, is like, we just got to keep it moving. Right. And that's what we're doing. And that's why we're diversified. We have senior direct marketing. We got solar direct marketing. You know, we got data. We got pay-per-call. Right. There's so much.
We got commercial solar. We got virtual assistants, virtual help. We have, BPO services. There's a lot of different things that we're diversified into.
Yep.
You know, even outside of that, you know, but that's what, but all that, for me, I'm kind of grateful because like, especially this commercial roofing thing and even some of the other opportunities we have, these things are exponentially
huge,
better than if these things take off the way I think they're going to take off and they're already bearing fruit. It's like we wouldn't have been able to pursue these opportunities.
Exactly.
I think part of being a CEO and entrepreneur, man, it's not meant for the heart kind of thing, right? Or people that just don't have the stomach for it. You know, it's man, it's a different grind, man. And I think entrepreneurs, at least true entrepreneurs, people that are made for it, we're always on the grind, man. I don't think I'll ever retire because I think for me, I like the chase, I like the hustle. I don't want the stress all the time. But that's part of the path we chose, man. It's like if you can't, like what did he say? Elon Musk was asked, "What's the best advice you can give to a CEO?" Words of encouragement, and his response to them was, "If you need words of encouragement, you shouldn't be a CEO."
Exactly,
and it's pretty, it's pretty cutthroat, but it's pretty true.
And I think this comes down to any successful entrepreneur or salesperson. I think they have an addictive personality, is what it is. And it's how do you hone that in, right? Where the bad parts of that don't interfere with the business or don't drag you down. Because I think men in particular have like sabotaging habits. Like, and I've done stupid stuff too, right? And I know you have as well, right? So, and this is like a personal thing, but do you feel comfortable talking? I think, and if you don't want, we can always edit this out, but you don't drink. You haven't drank in 25 years, 27 years?
Ish, yeah.
Nothing. Are you comfortable talking about this stuff or?
Sure.
Okay, we can always, let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes, but may edit it.
Huh?
May edit it.
Okay, so one thing about us, the yin and yang we have, is that I go out, right? I go out hard. We go to Vegas. I'll be out to 4 or 5 in the morning. And when I'm out, I'm still working. I'm at, or we're at bottle service. I'm hustling with people, and people like birds of a feather flock together. These guys are drinking, I'm drinking, whatever. And this happened in real life. I was leaving the club and you were getting up to have a breakfast meeting like at 6 a.m. in Vegas. It was like tapping each other,
high five on the way out.
Yeah, high five on the way out. You get them, I'll get my 2 hours of sleep and come back, man.
Yeah.
But how do you feel that has benefited you? I feel like it has, right? Because I feel like most of our industry and most salespeople are known for going hard. And there's good and bad things about that. But I think that when you're disciplined that way, and I admire that discipline on you, like I think it's amazing. Like how do you feel like that's benefited you?
Well, I think both of us have disciplines, right? Yeah. Like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm pretty straight edge with stuff.
Yeah.
And the joke is that you go out and party out with the degenerates, and then I'm going out for breakfast with the Mormons, right? It's but business owners come in all shapes and sizes, right? There's a screw for every nut. And I think that kind of tandem, like it allows us to, you get in social scenes and social circles that love your energy, love your passion, we both have integrity. So it's not the character, but the idea of it is part of the game is going out there and whining and dining. Mm-hmm. And you get a newfound confidence and energy being around people. You feed on it, you love it, hence the show and everything else. Mm-hmm. I love that about you, right? And you need that. And then other people are more introverted or more, not that I'm an introvert, because I think I'm social too. I've had to learn to take a back seat with you, which is rare because I usually don't. But I think it benefits us because once again, some people will feel more comfortable with me because I don't do any of those things. And it's already proven to bear fruit in our business because some of our biggest buyers are huge religionists or very conservative and that kind of stuff, and we get along masterfully, because we have similar lifestyles. So I think there's a screw for every nut. I don't judge the other side either. I really don't. I just it's just not what I do.
Yeah, and I think you said that beautifully. And I think when it comes down to partnerships, if you're going to partner, it's good to have someone that's different from you in that regard, that complements, right? Because if we were both like that, I mean, it wouldn't be good. We'd probably fuck. We spent a lot of money last year. Our CFO, we checked on how much we spent on events, flying, whining and dining. And it's funny, is everyone know, if you want to eat sushi, you eat sushi with Ed. He's a fucking sushi snob in a good way. I remember we went to like Nobu a couple months ago, and fuck, man, like he takes over and I love it, man. Everyone likes eating sushi, but it was like for like 5, 6 of us, like, near $5,000 for that. And I thought it would be like $2,000. Usually I'm pretty good at that, like $5,000, but like whatever. We came away with a great idea we're working on, so it's like, that's the thing. But even though you're not drinking, I mean, you're getting, high-end food, and we deserve it. At the end of the day, it's wine and dining. It is what it is, but you can still have fun without having to get banged up and all that stuff. I think that's the point of it.
Well, I think like one of the things that when we started talking about, one of the things that Tony Robbins brought up when we talk about that, if we're going to benchmark that period in time, one of the things that kind of made us grow and expand is like you talked about limited beliefs.
Yeah.
And the question that actually challenged me was, what would I do if I didn't have that limited belief? Because at the time I already made money. Was already content. I've already arrived. I didn't have to work anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. And for me, it did a lot of things. It said my wife can pursue horse riding because that's her passion. She does dressage. Now she was one show away from placing her bronze last year.
Wow.
Right. We're here in Wellington because she can pursue it full time. Right. Well, my kids, I thought about generational wealth in their college funds. Their colleges are paid for already. Mm-hmm. Right. And for me, it's like, if I would just get out of my own way and not limit myself to think I've arrived and I'm okay and take my comfort, it allows me to kind of live up to my potential, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so I think both of us, by opening up like that, has allowed us to live up to our potential. We don't even know what that is. We haven't hit it yet, which is exciting. And our people haven't hit it yet. Yeah. And the people on the journey with us haven't hit it yet. And it's cool to do it, like to do it and watch them. I get just excited for them doing it. Our partners like Manny and John and all these guys that you've interviewed already, I'm excited for them for success.
Me too.
Yeah, it's not a jealousy.
And they were so much younger than us too, which is exciting.
Yeah. Good for them. Go get it.
Yeah.
And it's and I think that's what it is, man. It's about watching their potential get unleashed as well.
Absolutely. Beautiful words. And I love that you talked about that. I feel like people don't talk about that enough in the industry, right? Is everybody wins. We all rise to the top together. Why not? So let's talk about major thing. We talk about hitting potential. Age data, been great for you, been great for me. On the connecting the dot side, there's only a few months left of this. And this is something that's very important to me because I feel like there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of affiliates. There's a lot of networks. There's brokers they're generating leads every day. There's people generating, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 opt-in compliant leads on a daily basis, right? They're checking all the check marks right now with the way the law is, but they're not doing anything with the data. Maybe they're using it for SMS, maybe they're using it for email, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the payouts on that stuff are so little. You're getting pennies per
nominal.
record. Yeah, or nominal. Whereas with connecting the dots, and I'll let you speak up with this, is that when you use it for call centers, you can get way higher payouts for that. So let's talk about age leads. I feel like age leads kind of have almost like when we were young, used car sales, people like this. There's a negative connotation to it. People are like, oh, I'm scared to call age leads. And same thing with co-reg. And again, there's people that do this shit the wrong way, right? But we've been doing this for so long. I can proudly say we're a group that does it the right way. We have a compliance department. I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but the point is that there's only a few months left to monetize age data in call centers. So if you're sitting on age data, now's the fucking time to do it. So what are your thoughts on all that? I know I said a handful, but I'm passionate about this, man.
Yeah, that's a loaded roundabout comments and question.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is what I love about Connect the Dots is that we're boutique, right? A lot of times our partners, like we're going to meet a few of them up at LeadsCon. And I asked them, how many TCPA issues have I ever got you in? 0. Right. And the reason is because we just don't sell to everybody, right? We don't sell to brokers. If we do, trusted brokers that are partners that we know the end buyer. that most of our relationships are direct to advertiser, that we sell it only so many times, that the integrity of the data and the KPIs and the performance matrix are key, that if numbers start dipping, we dig into the why, just like real-time leads, right? And our publishers, they tell us how we can use it or not. We have some publishers that we have data that says we email, so we don't want you emailing it out, so we don't, right? We have some ones that's saying we don't want to SMS, or we just only want to use direct mail, right? And there's a lot of different ways to monetize data. Data is a very broad term, but yeah, there's a lot more money in it, and you got to think of it like you already spent the money. Let's just say it cost you $10 for a Medicare lead, right? Now, the idea of it is, and let's say it cost you, and most publishers, it's not sexy. No one wants to talk about it, but you're really working on about 10% EBITDA, right? And some days you lose, some days you win. You make $1 million in sales, you really only made $100,000,
and you might not get paid by your advertiser,
and you may get stiffed, yeah. And so what happens is, what if I can get an extra 50 cents, $1, $2, $3 per lead in perpetuity, right? What does that do to my marketing campaign? What does that do for the stress of the profits of my company? A percentage or two at those kind of numbers are huge as moving the needle. So for us, what I love about age data, the hard part's already been done. Now it's just a revenue lift for your company. And we do a couple different strategics. We do one or two ways. We buy it all and just say we'll come at a flat fee, whether I sell it or not. And most data we don't ever sell, right? Because people have suppressions, they have whatever. We sell maybe like 30%. I know for sure we don't sell. And it doesn't matter. We still buy it from you. Or we do a rev split. It's coded in our system in perpetuity. Every time that record got monetized, whether it's through email, whether it's through dialing, whether it's our own call center, whether it's through SMS, regardless of the cadence, we're going to pay you out in perpetuity. And so people we have some people that I'm just like, why are we still doing this? I saw a check go out the other day, or an invoice come in for like $16.32. And we haven't dealt with the publisher in like 3-4 years. And they didn't even give us a lot of data. And I'm like, why are we still paying them? Well, because it's the right thing to do. That's their agreement. We're going to pay you out in perpetuity, right? Now we do it only if you're a big pub, because I don't want to be dishing out these $16 checks. But it's a huge revenue lift. Secondly, when you talked about the urgency thing, January 25th is on the ticker, right? And I think we have probably until about November to monetize data the way we know it today. And so if times are hard, margins are slimmer, economics are getting harder, more and more people are in the industry, everyone's going after the same verticals in the same space, what would the extra $10, $20, $30,000 a week do for your business?
Absolutely. Right?
It's a hire, it's a pivot, it's an R&D initiative, it's to pay a salary during the downtime. Like Medicare, all the business happens in like a 3 to 4 month tenure, right? The rest of the year, it's limping along for most people, right? What would that do for your team, right? And I think what I love about our partners, like all of our big partners are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions a year with us, right? And that's an exciting thing to have, right? So when you talk about publishers that are saying, I don't want to monetize my data, I think it's because a lot of people just do whatever with it, where they sell it to 100 different people, or they get in compliance issues, or they don't treat it right? But once again, we treat it like our own data, right? Like if we have a solar record, we don't sell it, right? We wait at least 30 days to make sure our first position player gets a chance to monetize it. First thing I tell publishers is don't sell it to me for 30 days. I want it in a week, right? But don't undo your first place buyer. And who says that? I'm more worried about their success than they are sometimes, right? I'm like, yes, but you have to make sure you're with the company that has the right cadences and the right reputation. And I believe that's why we've been successful. Once again, is we create win-wins for everyone, from advertiser to pub, and even our team, right, and each other. So I think people are missing out on a huge opportunity right now, because they're never going to have this gold rush again, right? It's limited.
Exactly. And we're talking about scarcity. This is a real scarcity. It's going to happen. It's going to be done January 25th. Looks like it, 90% chance, whatever.
There'll be a form of it. I think there's a lot of talks of how it's going to look. Federal DNCs, but at least 50% of it's going to be gone. And the way we know it today with the kind of margin and revenue will be gone. Yes.
Yeah. And, maybe I should take a step backwards. We're talking about the FCC passed a regulation ruling, right? Where it's called single opt-in. And can you talk about that a little bit so the audience knows where we're talking about, how the ramifications?
Yeah. So the reason why age data can even exist today is because what happens is on TCPA, there's this pretty cookie cutter language that has to happen that says that this, by clicking here, you agree to these terms and conditions, basically, and overrides any federal DNC, blah, blah, blah. And it says that any of our partners, and there's a hyperlink to the partners showing a list of how many people that can potentially call them, right? And right now, the reason why I believe all this litigation is happening is because people abuse that. People may call that person 100, sell that to 100 Medicare people, for instance, and they're trying to monetize it as many ways as they can. Well, John Doe that got called was only looking for one person, so, or maybe a couple people for a quote, not 100 different people to call them. The second thing that happens that the law is saying it has to be topical. So it's singular and topical. So now all of a sudden, instead of John Doe being called by 100 potential buyers, it has to be listed that only ABC Medicare can call them. The second thing is it has to be topical, means aligned. So Medicare right now, people dial Medicare for DME or hearing aid or anything senior tub, anything senior related, because Medicare is 65 and over historically. So now topical means that you can only be called for the vertical they opted in for, and only one company can call them. So for age data, once it gets past that first buyer, we can no longer resell that lead to a potential second buyer. And normally right now it works because even like in solar and other verticals, people think they're good at working leads. Like solar gets a 15% set appointment rate. Age data will get 2 to 7% set appointment rate. So even though it's been worked through, some of the leads have never been contacted, or they don't recognize the number, or the solar company that bought it took 5 hours to get back to them and they didn't answer the phone, right? So a lot of age data is still topical and it's still relevant. And it's not like you're calling them like for something like you want to buy sandals, right? But the way the law is in effect because people abused it. Yeah. So we have to pivot.
Yeah, we have to pivot. And I think that if an advertiser is listening, right, and they haven't touched age leads, it's a good time to try it now and then get it go. As long as you have a good call center, you know what you're doing. Our clients that have been successful are the ones that they know the right cadences, they're dialing it properly, they're scripted properly. And that's really one of the hardest things in what we do is you can have the greatest leads in the world, whether they're real time, whether they're paper call transfers, doesn't matter what lead it is. Well, if the end buyer can't convert the lead, what the hell? Yeah. It doesn't matter. And truthfully, that's what gives this opportunity, because 90%, in my opinion, of advertisers aren't properly working the lead. And because they gave up on that lead, now you got second crack at it and you get a lot of, deals off of it. We've seen it, particularly in solar, right? I mean, I think that between you and I try to estimate this the other day. I think we were responsible for 300 million to 500 million in solar sales and glass on roofs from our leads. Yeah. I mean, I think we get disposition reports from a lot of buyers, and one group would have 100 solar sales. That's 3 million a month. Another one have 80. Another one have 90. It's like, man, these are big freaking numbers. So we had like a month where they got 10 million in sales, right? So that's a lot of impact that we made. But a good chunk of that, probably 30 to 50%, was from age data, because they knew how to work the damn lead. And when you're an advertiser, you need to have a portfolio of different leads. You can't just depend on real-time leads, because that might dry up. Facebook might change some ruling. You can't rely on just transfers, because look, a transfer is going to go to hell too with the age data, right? I mean, that's going out the window. So you need to have a diversified portfolio, right? So, I mean, with that being said, it's just great. And I'm glad to have learned all this stuff from you, man. It's been a great fucking experience. And I saw what you were doing with this. I'm like, damn, I got to sell some age data. And I started doing it, and boom, we merged, and then now we're together. So I love it, man. One thing before we wrap up, we've traveled all over the world. We've done all sorts of crazy experiences. What's your favorite story together traveling? I have one in my head, man. I want to talk about. I want to see what you have.
I like the Dubai trip, our first trip to Dubai. The camel, I just got out of my surgery. We're with your family. We're with Matthias. We have your, Ali was there. We had we're with the camels, and I almost broke the back because I was so fat. And then, and just doing the dune rugs. You lost your wallet. You got tickets. You did whatever per normal.
I lost my license in the desert, but they brought it back to me. I don't even know how the fuck that happened. Only me.
But I think that was fun because it was the first time we've done international. I think it was great to bond with your family. I think it was great to bond away from the normal stress, that we were able to kind of enjoy each other, not just like we normally do in a business setting, and it shows in dinners, but really just kind of collectively get intimate, like one-on-one, seeing how you are with your own family, when with no dress rehearsal, right? And to be a part of that and to be allowed to participate in that, for me, was special. So it wasn't so much even the event. I'm really big on memories. That's why I love shows. That's why I love dinners. That's why I love the house and anything that does that we can create memories together. And that's what I'm in business for. I want to create memories for my family and the people on the journey with me. So that was one of my favorite memories, moments.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that's one reason why we're also good partners. So another reason why we blew through our budget for, what was it? I don't know what, travel, whatever the heck, entertainment. But yeah, what came in my mind was our first Dubai trip. I mean, Dubai is just spectacular with all those buildings and just your mindset goes somewhere else. But particularly was when we were in the desert in that SUV. It was you, me, JP, Mike Minetti.
Thought I was gonna die.
I don't know how this is even legal. Yeah, we had my son was 2 years old in the back.
Actually, with no seatbelt.
Yeah, no seatbelt on. We're going. I mean, it felt like this SUV was in. The guy was from Brooklyn to top it off. An Arabic guy from Brooklyn driving like he's in Brooklyn in the freaking desert. You just did your shoulder surgery. Your shoulder's been playing.
So much pain. Yeah.
You warned him like, listen, man, can you ease up? The guy didn't ease up. He kept playing loud fucking music. He kept going. He's like, listen, ease the fuck up. I'll get the fuck out right here. It was great, man. My kid is bouncing up and down, man. It was. I got a video of that somewhere. We got to put it on there, but. That was a good time, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through pain on that, but then I didn't want to. I was like,
no, it was funny. It's funny now, but it wasn't at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But and it's been a pleasure having you here. I want the audience to really take heed to what you said. You have so much experience. You've been doing this a long time, not just lead gen, but you've been in the business world for such a long time. You've had your trials and tribulations, man, but been a great partner to work with. And how can people learn more about you? Where can they find you online on social media?
I guess you can check out Connection Holdings. You can probably follow your show or just Connecting the Dots, or go to any of the trade shows. We're usually representing pretty heavy at most of them, if not exhibiting, where we have a presence.
Yeah, and LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn too.
If I check it, I'm pretty bad on it, but
we're gonna fix that. All good, man. Pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, brother.
Let's fucking go, guys. Let's make this happen.